like, I hate when people talk about like, oh, my sin is between me and God. No, it's not. It's not. Your sin ripples out in ways.
Do you want to make a ripple? Sorry. Go watch Spirited with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. Only this would be ripple in the wrong direction.
Yes. Yeah. So what you do, the choices that you make affect the people around you. And then I think as much as I kind of do agree, like the plane crash at the end, the fact that it fell directly on Walt's house was a little maybe too pointed of a point. But the idea of it, like, now his actions have started a chain of causality that has now affected hundreds of people, both in their deaths, and then those family members that now have to deal with those losses. Like, we're not even talking about the fact that he's selling meth.
Right.
To how many people is he getting addicted to? Whatever, and he's committing these illegal things that then perpetuate a crime gang, and he's now got a cartel that's going to get, like, there's just going to be more and more violence. Like, it's perpetuating. It's this small kernel of thing that's just going to perpetuate and grow into something worse.
Well, not just Walt, right?
Horrible. And I'm just talking about Walt.
Like, it's Walt to Jesse to Jane. It's dominoes.
Like, there's dominoes. So I would, to potentially be a little more articulate about what I'm trying to say, is season 2 is just more evidence that this show is not the simplistic show of an indictment of the American health system. If he'd had good health care, he wouldn't have turned to cooking meth. This show is about a man's choices, not his circumstances. His circumstances are not what's turning him into a monster. It's his choices. And why I think then it's buttered and salted and carbonated is because it's rich soil storytelling wise to dig into. It's great character moments to dig into because his choices affect those people around him. Mm-hmm. He ultimately inflicts misery and calamity on almost everyone that he comes into contact with. And as we've talked about, I'm fully aware each person is culpable before God. We are responsible for the individual choosing of our sin. And when we make those choices, we have a responsibility before God. But there's a causal chain that's represented by Walt, his main sin of pride, jealousy, and bitterness, just to name a few of the sins he indulges in, that caused him to choose to cook meth. And again, as we've been referencing a lot, Breaking Bad 101 actually puts it really succinctly and kind of made my point for me. So he boils season 2 down to this. He says, Walt recruits Jesse to be his partner. Jesse then loses his aunt's house because his parents recognize what he's doing. And so they try to remove his ability to do that. He then has to move. He ends up moving next door to Jane. Walt pressures Jesse to expand the operation, which leads to Combo's death, which leads to Jesse luring Jane off the wagon because he chooses to medicate his grief. And then Jane chooses to try and comfort him and joins him in that. And then she leads him to heroin, which leads to Jane's death, which leads to a father's grief, which leads to a plane crash, which leads to then calamity for hundreds of families. And if you think that I'm exaggerating that, Romans 5:12 actually says, therefore, just as sin came into the world through one man and death through sin, so death spread to all men because all have sinned. So the scripture still talks about our culpability and responsibility within that, but sin came through one man and has tainted everything. And where Breaking Bad doesn't go is to verse 15, which is our glorious hope that God has offered us a way out. Verse 15 saying, but the free gift is not like the trespass. For if many died through one man's trespass, much more have the grace of God and the free gift by the grace of that one man, Jesus Christ, who abounded for many. So Breaking Bad obviously is not going to get to where our ultimate salvation and redemption.
The counteragent.
Counteragent, as you will, the antidote to that horribleness.
We hope you enjoyed this snack-sized taste of popcorn theology. Check out the full episode using the link in the description. Subscribe on YouTube for more content. Follow and interact on social media to share with others. And remember, you are not a mindless consumer.